Hello and welcome everyone to Deconstructing the Construct. Today is March 25 and in light of current goings on, recent events, it feels like the only way to really talk about what's going on right now is in the context of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture would be, for me, I'm only speaking for myself, personally, is the narrative that has grown and evolved since September 2016 when I got my mojo back, in working with the people who have become members at the LMH site, and this growing and eclectic group of people, as we work together and share, it has created, as I said, this narrative that works for me, and it explains and gives me a framework to navigate what is going on. And you can't take what's going on out of isolation and just look at it on its own, because it doesn't make any sense, at least not for me. So, bigger picture. And I've got notes because there's a lot. And I'm only giving a really broad brush strokes. I mean, there has been so much detail, so many events, so many doings, so much work that has been done and experienced and felt over this last 18-month period. There's no way I can recap all that. So this is pretty broad brush strokes. But it feels to me as if we have tried to end this game many times. And one of my friends described it like a game of snakes and ladders, in that, we're plodding along on the board, we come up against a snake, we lose, we end up at the beginning of the board. As we go past again, we get to that point, we know what's ahead, we navigate it, we get past it, we move forward on the board until we hit the next snag, fail, end up at the back of the beginning of the board. So we've gotten a little bit further along every time. However, I also think that we realized somewhere along the way that we were not going to end this with the game plan we were working with. Try that. That we needed to do something different and do something new. And for me, what we did was we created a copy of this universe, essentially, this creation. And that we started moving into that copy at the end of 2012, 2013. And we probably spent the year of 2013 really moving in. And that meant everything that we can conceive of. Because for me, everything that we can conceive of is contained within this construct. All the perceived dimensions, all the perceived races and realms and all of it. It's all in here. We're in this copy space from 2013, 14, 15 and 16. And that's why the Mandela effects, because there were so many different versions of timelines or alternate realities, all sort of starting to pull into the one space. And for some reason, these flies have come out of nowhere. There's like 4 of them. So the physical experiences of that were all the Mandela effects. And then on January 8 of 2017, again, between this period of January 8 and January 18, I believe the clock was wound back. But it could only be wound back to the beginning of this copy period, because that's when it started. And from January 18, 2017 to January 18, 2018, there was an extra 12 months of what we perceive as linear time was bought by winding back the clock. But it was, in terms of material, what it was made up of was just a redo of the copy space. So 13, 14, 15, 16. A lot of people noticed in 2017 that they were in fact reliving themes, events, circumstances that they had gone through 13, 14, 15, 16. So it was this condensed version, 4 years and 12 months, you know. I believe that we did this because there was no fixing, there was no cleaning up, there was no healing, there was no rescuing, saving where we were, where we'd been. And for that reason, we created this copy. I don't know who wound the clock back, whether it was us or the proverbial they. Either way, it's to our advantage. The circumstances and events that we went through in 13, 14, 15 and 16, as we started to revisit, we only revisited the ones that needed cleaning up, that still had energy around them, which we got to do. And we're doing it again, but I'll get to that. And 2017, that was one thing that was going on, okay? There's never been just one thing going on. So throughout 2017, we had that happening, the reliving of energies that needed to be, or revisiting of energies that needed to be cleaned up. On top of that, there was so much work being done in the energetic to clean everything up. Because when we moved into this space, I think we brought everything in. I think we acted as bait to ensure that the bad guys came into. We brought the lot in. So there was a lot of work that was done throughout 2017 in the energetics to get things cleaned up, to lay the groundwork, to pour the foundations, to do all of that for what's happening now. It was a very busy, creative growth period for everyone, if you were prepared to really ride it anyway. Now, I'm trying to do this in chronological order, and I know there's going to be things I miss. Once everything and everyone was out of the original construct, I believe it was closed. Initially, it was closed and quarantined so that nothing couldn't get restarted, nothing could get in. And then in what I believe May or June 2017, I think it was completely collapsed. It no longer exists. Part of the work that was done in 2017. Now again, this is not just, I mean, I know others share this perception, but I'm only speaking for myself. The way that I perceive this construct is that, like I said earlier, everything, it contains everything, all of the perceived dimensions. I believe part of the corruption or the virus or invasion or whatever we want to call it, I do believe that it was initially one space. There was no 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. There was no little me, higher self, all that. It was all one. And the result of this infection was to petition it with a series of frequency fences and actually create these dimensional spaces. Create a frequency fence in us and sort of break up our consciousness that is also reflected. To me, there's a direct connection and correlation between that and the different brainwave states. Part of what was going on in 2017 was that, in the energetic at least, those frequency fences were coming down. People were reconnecting their consciousness on all the different levels, reconnecting their brain waves to sort of be more fluid. You're not in that state and then in that state and then in, you know, there was a fluidity. We were playing with and experiencing and experimenting with getting into these sweet spots where you were more on a spectrum than in segments. Now, the thing about this is that this includes, like I said, all of the dimensions and all of the realms and all of the beings. Those who think they're 5D beings or 8D beings, or everybody's in on this. And I'm not even sure if those beings have got more of a heads up than we do. I honestly think for the most part we're all equally in the dark and winging it. There was a lot of integration being experienced in 2017 of alternative selves and fractals and all of that, as this all was becoming one again. And then we hit 2018, I guess, yeah. Literally from the 1st of January until the 18th of January of 2018, time flew. And it was all over the place. What I subsequently came to feel was that in that period, especially the 8th to the 18th, again, was that period of the winding back of the clock. And on the 19th of January, it's like everything just was stopped and started to move forward again at a normal pace. So we had 4 years, 13, 14, 15 and 16, replayed in a condensed version over 12 months of 2017. And then now we're in a period where all of that is being replayed yet again in a condensed version that only goes for 3 months, January 18 to April 18. Give or take. Don't take the dates to the bank, but that's what it felt like. They bought 3 months. It's very specifically 3 months. And there has been, whatever you didn't clean up the first time around, that you had an opportunity to clean up the second time around in 2017, if there's still any residual energy there, people are revisiting those themes, people, circumstances again. But nothing is as bad because a lot of work's already been done, a lot of it, the energy around it's already been cleaned up. So whatever's hanging out and hanging over. Again, that's one thing that's going on right now. Where else? Also leading up to January 18, there was quite a few hits on the 18th was going to be significant, but the 18th of January, the 18th of February, the 18th of March, and the 18th of April. For whatever reason, it just felt that way. February 18, that day began with a feeling that Lilu's poem, which came through in May of 2017, The Pink Rises to the Fall of Blue poem, was meant for now. It was relevant now. And what ended up unfolding that day was pretty big. It was rather remarkable. That is the day that resulted in two of the darkest, most ancient controllers of this construct chose oblivion and left the construct. What came with that was, as they literally exited the door, it wasn't just these two, mind you, it was their entire cartel. All light that had been harvested, that they were holding on to, was returned. And in that, a new creation was born, a new universe, a new construct, whatever you want to call it, however you want to look at it. A new universe was born, and an awareness that everything would now begin to be rebirthed into that space, into that brand new, clean creation. But again, what this stuff looks like and how it's going to play out, nobody knows. Right? It never looks like what you think it's going to, and no one saw this coming. At least, those involved didn't see it coming. Which brings us up to, for me, March 4. There is quite, if you do a search on people who felt some sort of shift on March 4, you'll find a few. For me, there was a distinct feeling of, well, I had a heads up coming up into March 4, actually. A good friend of mine got 2 hits on March 4, and then when I looked into them, I felt March 4 to March 18 was going to be significant. I didn't know what, just that it would be. What I felt on March 4 was something ending. Something was beginning to close out. And it took me most of the day feeling into it for it to get clearer and clearer, but it felt like the copy that we'd been in was now starting to wind down. There have been several days, moments where you have that everything goes still and quiet, and it suddenly feels like there's less people in the world. Whether people are actually catching the bus out of here, I don't know. But definitely coming to an end, winding down, closing out, rolling up the carpet, all those phrases apply. Along with that, we started receiving these energetic waves. Now, since the year clicked in 2018 sort of ticked over, and there's been this feeling that all the work that we did during 2017 was going to physically manifest now in 2018. All that foundational work, all that cleanup, everything that we did is now going to show up physically. So, and for me, that's what we're seeing. March 4 was the beginning of this period of these new waves coming in. And think I mentioned this in my brief chat with Alice and Co. I saw them as waves. My initial interpretation was they are the waves that people were talking about, that we're going to like take groups of people out of here. So I assumed that's what they were. It took me a few days to, or maybe longer, to realise that that wasn't what it was. These were waves that were coming, swooping through all of us, everywhere, and pulling up, magnetically pulling and drawing the deepest, most wounded aspects of ourselves, because they can't come with us, right? And they were being brought up and healed. And I'm observing some people really going and flowing and growing with that process, and others, one of the members put it beautifully, arguing for their limitations and wanting to hold on to them, their labels, their crutches, their traumas, their whatever. And so but to me, there is no escaping this process. It will either be relatively painless or really painless, or painful, I should say. But there's no getting around it. There's no escaping it. It's happening for everyone everywhere. If you've already done a lot of work and cleaned yourself up a lot, then this will not be so bad. But there's so much trauma here, so much pain, and it's got to go. And can you hear the rain? You can't? Okay. Can you guys still hear me over the rain? All good? Okay. So March 9, maybe on March 9, I think, I was on a call with the members and I got triggered, and I had an experience, I guess you'd call it, that allowed me to see something like this. I'm going to share screen. Is that working? Can you see it? Good. That one. Yep. Okay. These weren't actually separate. It was a continuous flow. But let's say that this one represented me at that moment. And this represented me the day after, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. But they were connected. Suddenly they were connected. It's like a continuous consciousness stream. And I went out of body and I looked down on this. And was suddenly able to tap in and have a perspective or a knowing from different versions of myself. There was the me that day, then there was the me in a week's time, and there was so on. And then what I saw was this, what looked like a big concrete wall on the 18th. And that what was on the other side of that wall was like big me. I'm going to say big me. Now, what I've since come to realise for myself, okay, is that it's not a wall, and it's not something that is this thin and you just step through it. It's quite thick, actually. It's taking a while to get through. And it's a process. There is a process going through this space. And that is, I don't know, it's an individual inside job. That's what I've been saying for a long time. So this process is going to be different for everyone, depending on your story, your programming, your coding, your experiences. But this is, like I said, there's not just one thing happening right now. We've still got these waves coming through, pulling up our deepest wounds. We're going through that. For me, I think it was collective, but I can't be sure, that we all stepped into this, our own personal little concrete wall thing around the 18th, and are in another process. Because it's like there's something moving up behind us, pushing us along. Whoop. Something coming up behind us, pushing us along, while at the same time, there's something in front of us magnetically pulling us. So there is no lagging behind. You're just going to accumulate more and more stuff to clear, process, deal with trouble, if you're not trying to stay in front of the wave or on the crest of the wave or whatever. It's building up for some people. I still have this feeling and visual that on the other side of this little process, this concrete wall that's not quite a concrete wall, is the bigger part of me and is a completely different space. Is it the new creation that we're moving into? I don't know. Yeah, be nice to think so. And I have to thank Curtis for the graphic. Because we've also got, since the 18th, and around that time, we've got people who claim to have experienced the event. I don't think they have personally experienced the event. I think they are in this process. And as my mate Jenny put it, are very probably acting as anchors for this energy, because it's coming through in waves. And I do believe it will build to a crescendo until there is one wave, one big one, but there's no denying for anybody. But we're just getting a taste right now. And it feels right that these people are acting as anchors. I'm not one of them. Job someone else, clearly. Don't want it. And March 19, when I sort of entered this wall, for me, it felt like I was being stripped bare. Firstly, of anything connected to Lisa, this lifetime, this identity. It was physical, visceral. I could almost feel codes being pulled out of me. And then it went beyond that to anything attached to being in this construct. I mean, whether it's lifetimes or what, I don't know, but it was anything associated with being in here that doesn't serve me and that I can't take with me. I think that's it. But there's a few people in here. If you have questions or can prompt me, remember something that I should have said or anything, go for it. Or you want to share your experience around any of these things, please do. Nope. Everyone's going to keep it to themselves? Okay. That's funny. Please describe the concrete wall again. When I initially saw it, when I kind of went up out of my body and saw it, that's what it looked like, a grey, like a big grey concrete slab. But as I approached and felt like I was entering that space, I could feel it just kind of stretch out before me. So I realized this wasn't going to be a quick thing. It feels somewhat isolating, like it's, in a way, like I'm in my own little bubble and it's my own little custom-made healing space, perhaps. There is a sense of disconnect from a lot of things. Yeah, it's like there's no distractions in here. Does that answer the question, or did you want something else? Okay, cool. Okay, anything else that I should cover? Or have you all gone to sleep on me? Yeah. Typing, okay. You can unmute your mic if you want.
All right, I'll start it. So do you feel that when you're in the space, the emotions come within minute to minute, hour to hour, maybe even morning to afternoon? They change quickly?
Okay. I think that's going to depend on how much you've been riding the wave or whether you're in danger of being dumped by the wave. Because these waves that have been coming through that have been pulling up, like I said, magnetically pulling up those deepest, darkest wounds, that's still happening for many. So when you're in that process, yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's a mental roller coaster. But if you're also going through this concrete wall thing, there's a disconnect. So I can only tell you how I'm experiencing it, which is more the observer. So I can see and feel the emotions doing their thing, but I don't feel that my core is as affected by it. More the observer. And seeing them more as unconscious responses or unconscious triggers or and just sort of going, oh, that's interesting. Does that make sense? Are you feeling that at all?
Yes, I'm feeling actually everything. The disconnect I felt first, the emotional roller coaster up and down. I'm also seeing a lot of stuff come up. Like I've done the clearing from the past. I know that. I know there's not much left in there. But what I'm seeing is old patterns coming up, and they're very quick, and they have to be cleared. I feel it. They just have to. I have to dump it really quick. Otherwise, it could consume. But other than that, like pretty much everything you're feeling, but it's all coming in within 3-hour increments, 4-hour increments. So
We don't have the luxury of, years of therapy. We're on our own. We've got to do the work, and we better fucking hurry up with it. That's otherwise it's all piling up.
Yeah, that answers it. Yeah.
I know it's been really, really rough for some, and it's been blissful for others. I'm cruising somewhere in the middle. Thankfully, although the bliss part would be nice. But I'm seeing it accumulate if it's not being dealt with or in the moment, And that's not easy, I know.
Yep, have to agree.
Anything else?
Lisa?
Yes.
I have a question. I guess I'm sort of stuck on this. It's got my curiosity up. You mentioned sort of being in the space where the concrete wall is sort of in front of you and extending forward or receding away from you. Am I correct in that?
I feel like it's like a big tunnel that I'm just slowly working my way through.
Okay, and you describe that as like a personal healing space?
I think it is, yeah.
Sort of?
Because there is a sense of being disconnected from a lot around me externally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to describe it.
What I'm pondering, you also mentioned there's a sense of a wave sort of behind, kind of moving you along so that you can't stop or go backwards or get stuck.
Yeah, there is. Hang on. Curtis didn't be another graphic because he's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm wondering if you have any sense of what's on the other side of what's behind you.
Nothing. It feels like nothing. Like literally a void, a blackness, nothing. So this is this is the construct. So this blue square. Let's just say that's the construct. Within that is the contained space that we were in, our little pocket of this construct, right? There is a magnetic needle, north up here, south down here. Here's the copy, right, that we're in. We have actually been magnetically pulled, because there is a sense of down as well through all of this. Kind of the opposite of this 5D New Age ascension thing, like you're going to go up and raise your frequency and you're going to go up to 5D. For me, there are no Ds left. It's in the energetic, it's all one. And it's all being pulled down. And so this was the old void, the place where the dark and the non-heart source beings will stay. So we're being magnetically pulled, and this is why everything's getting pulled up and out of us, because it's going to stay back there. This is this rainbow frequency place that we're in at the moment. This is going to continue being pulled. There is a potential here for the sun being a portal to exit this construct. That we will go through that and end up in what we call 0 point home, this new creation that's been created. So for me, what we're leaving behind up here is what we want to leave behind. There is nothing. And once we've gone through here, we'll be leaving this behind as well. There's only this in front. This is, oh, here we go. This here could well be this tunnel, this concrete tunnel that I'm feeling like I'm in right now. Have I explained that accurately, Curtis? I don't know what you mean by that, Jenny. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but this idea you're expressing is, it's like I'm all quivery. It's got energy, a lot of energy around it for me. I feel like my ears are pointed.
Well, I hope that's a good thing.
Well, I think so. I don't know what, I'm just really paying attention. But I don't know what else to say right now.
Okay, either do I. So you're seeing a sun or a spot at the end of the concrete wall, or is it out of focus too? Are you meaning to put your, yeah, okay. When I got that overview that day, it looked like it was big me, all of me on the other side of the wall. It was a big sphere. But it also felt like a completely new space. While I'm in this concrete wall, no, there's no light at the end of the tunnel yet. So I don't know how long this process goes for. However, having said that, the feeling that we've got a 3-month period from January 18 to April 18 is still very, very strong. So whether this process period lasts until April 18, possible. Because even in this 3 months, you know, the February had a different flavour to March. March may well have a different flavour to April. But yeah, I don't know. I just hope this helps anyone navigate what they're going through, because it is multi-layered, it is multi-dimensional, because it's now becoming all one. And I honestly think that we are experiencing now in the physical, we're grounding it, we're pulling it in, everything that was done. In the energetic, which includes a whole new creation. It is. We are in a space of no time as well, which is crazy because I keep getting dates. So I don't understand how those two goes together. And I still believe that everyone, which I've said before, I still think that's relevant, that everyone is fine-tuning their own personal narrative as well. So there's just so much going on of what they can accept, what they can't. what they can imagine and what they can't, what they've chosen on a soul level to experience. Yeah. So I think that's it for me for today, unless there's any other comments. Is it still important to be visualizing their landing point, or is that done? Feels like that's done. Feels like we've already made that decision, and now we're actually having to play out what we've decided and created. And the thing is, it's not just us. It's not just physical Earth 3D that's going through this. That's my feeling. I don't listen to channelings or anything like that very often at all. So I don't know if those messages have changed or anything, but I think that most of those communities, we'll call them, are just as confused as we are. Or they think they know what's going on, but they may not. Sometimes I think we've got a broader perspective than they do, at least on some aspects of it. This idea that beings who say they're from the 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th and whatever dimensions are somehow more advanced, more spiritually aware, they have a broader picture. I just think they have a different one. And sometimes they have a broader picture of some aspect, and sometimes they don't. We do. But it's all coming together. And I think when this is done, that'll be the end result. It's all of it back together again. I don't think it was ever meant to be this compartmentalized, fractalized, separated. Yeah, exactly. Phil. All right, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate some of you who stayed up for this. And bye for now.